Imagine you're playing a game with some friends. The rules of the game are simple. You each have a character card telling you what sort of person you are. And together, you have to decide how to organise a new society so that it's as fair to everyone as it can be. But there's a catch. That card telling you who you're playing in the game, you can't look at it until you've made all the important decisions about how this new society will be organised. Your gender? You don't know. Your race? No idea. Your age, your income, your level of education? Nothing. How will this ignorance affect your decisions? This idea of imagining a new society from behind a veil of ignorance is central to one of the 20th century's greatest political philosophers. And for some, it holds the key to solving some of the most difficult social challenges. John Rawls is routinely compared to the likes of Plato, Hobbes, Kant, and John Stuart Mill. But while there have been thousands of academic books and articles written about his ideas, he remains relatively unknown outside of the scholarly circles.
What's so exciting about Rawls is that his ideas aren't just interesting, they're useful. At the heart of his philosophy are a set of simple but powerful principles, which can help us think about what a fair society would look like.
Firstly, Rawls argued that if we didn't know who we would be, we'd prioritise protecting our fundamental freedoms, not just our freedoms of speech and religion, but our freedom to take part in politics as equals. Secondly, we would want to ensure that everyone has an equal opportunity to develop their talents and that inequalities would ultimately benefit the least well-off, not just by a little, but as much as possible. Rawls also argued that if we didn't know what generation we would be born into, we would maintain the Earth's stable climate and vital ecosystems for future generations. But what would these principles look like in practice in the UK of 2023?
Let's take the principles in turn, starting with the freedom to play an equal part in politics. In 2019, nearly half of all donations to political parties in the UK came from just over 100 super donors who gave an average of nearly £450,000 each. If we want real political equality, we could cap private donations and instead give everyone a democracy voucher worth, say, £50 per election cycle, which they could give to the party of their choice. What about equality of opportunity? Tackling discrimination is clearly essential, but if we really want everyone to have a fair start in life, we need to go further, like introducing universal early years education, focusing resources on disadvantaged children, and abolishing fee-paying schools entirely. And if we want a society that genuinely works for the least well-off, we could put in place a universal basic income, give everyone a minimum inheritance when they reach the age of 21, and give workers, not just shareholders, the right to decide how their workplace is organised. Finally, all of this depends on taking urgent action to tackle the climate and ecological emergency while there's still time, and to create a sustainable society.
But are we ready for these ideas? At the very least, in a time of enormous discontent, Rawls's approach might just offer a new way to think about the kind of society we'd like to live in. And it all begins with pretending for a moment that you don't know what your circumstances within that society will be.